Hey guys, so you just bought your 1.5x anamorphic lens or 1.6 or 2x, but you're stuck on a camera that doesn't have open gate? Well, that's not a problem anymore because I found a brand new plugin that may be just the right tool for you too. What this amazing gem of a plugin does is lets you get true cinematic aspect ratio, a 239:1 aspect ratio, and brings back all of that beautiful character of the lens into frame. So the character for most anamorphic lenses sit right at the edge of the lens, and you lose that on a camera that doesn't have open gate because you crop out the edges. With this lens, the Talon, for example, at 1.5x, you get a 266:1 aspect ratio. This is even worse. You get a 285 or something like that at 1.6, and at 2x, you know the drill, but that's not the case anymore. So if you want to squeeze all the juicy character out of your lenses, let me show you how to do that in DaVinci Resolve right now. Okay, so let's do a deep dive into DaVinci Resolve, and I can show you how you can get all of that juicy character back, so you won't always have to crop out the edges from your beautiful shots. And you don't ruin your footage every time just to get that 239:1 cinema aspect ratio. Okay, so here we are in DaVinci Resolve, and if you're like me, you want more character, more oval bokeh, more everything. So you might have bought the Blazer Talon or Siri lenses. They have 1.5x, 1.6. With the adapter you can achieve a 2x squeeze, but if you're shooting on a camera that doesn't have open gate, you're kind of stuck like me. And if we take a look at our project settings, this is the resolution for a 239:1 aspect ratio in 4K. So when you normally Desqueeze the footage, you lose the sides and all of that beautiful character that sits just at the edge of the lens. So while I was frustrating about this and waiting for Sony to release the Sony FX3 Mark II, hopefully with open gate, I came across this wonderful tool that appeared out of nowhere. Cheers to the creator. It's a 2-in-1 plugin. The first one fixes the blur from the Desqueeze and sharpens the image. So this is very useful. You can't notice it right away here, but when you edit in DaVinci, you will. Because when you Desqueeze the image horizontally, it kind of blurs because you stretch the pixels. So this fixes it and looks very nice and brings your character back into a sharp focus. And this is where the magic happens with the FX plugin from Anamorphic Tool. As you can see here on the side, you get back the cropped out part at a 239:1 aspect ratio, but you can do so much more with this. On the website you can find a tutorial explaining everything. So these are the plugins, the tutorial, and the download page you have for Windows and Mac OS. And it's only $20. I was like, wow, let me test this out. You can download it for free, but it has a watermark, so you can test it and kind of gives you an idea of what you can do with it. So let me show you. So these are my project settings. This is the resolution for 4K at 239:1 aspect ratio. You gotta go into image scaling and make sure you have these selected. Scale entire image to fit, and here also. Okay, and then you edit normally all of the clips and your project, and then on the color tab you gotta Desqueeze the image first. So if we go to timeline, you just add a node. I did everything before this recording, so I'll show you what I did. You have this node for the Desqueeze in the timeline section, and you gotta go to, let me delete this and show you again. If you type in transform, you go all the way down and you drag this over from the Resolve FX transform, and now you're gonna set the width to 1.5. I'm just gonna type it in. Okay, and now you have all the clips Desqueezed for the entire timeline. Now you can go to clip for individual color grading, and I have 5 nodes here. I started out with noise reduction. As you can see, I unchecked the link here, and chroma at 8, that does a pretty good job. And then, so this is the first node of the Anamorphic Tool pack. The first one is named Anamorphic Utility, and you have a bunch of settings here. The quality, the sharpening, I just set it on low. It does a very good job. Let me show you, I don't know, before and after, before, after. Here you go. Do you notice that? It fixes that de-stretch blur that you get when you Desqueeze the image. Okay, so now this is looking much better. Next, another node for white balance. I just did a quick white balance here with temp and tint. The color grading for these clips are done with Genesis. A few quick settings over here. I don't have grain enabled, just halation. And The final magic tool from the Anamorphic Tool pack is the Anamorphic FX. Here you also have the quality, and this is very important. You have to set it to 1.5x squeeze or depending on the lens. And I did some custom settings here. So edge compression and lens geometry, you could set these to mid, both of them. At least these were the recommended settings by the creator of this beautiful plugin. But for my taste, the barrel distortion is a little bit harsh, so I did some custom settings. I set the edge compression to 22.5 and compensated the barrel distortion here. It was 8, I made it 4 or something like that, so it looks more straight. You can see what this does. If you go, you can give it more barrel compression, but then you have to compensate. But this is a little bit too much, so I'm gonna go something like that and then lower the barrel compression so it straightens out, but not completely. And as you can see, somewhere around 4. Yeah. So without this, normally you would have gotten something like this after the Desqueeze. And as you can see, we're gonna bring that back. So this person is cut out of the frame. And if you go and enable this with our settings, you bring the edges back and everything beautiful about the lens and the edges, that beautiful character, also the bokeh. So this is what happens. You bring back all of the beautiful character and the last edges on a 249:1 aspect ratio. And you have all of the image. So yeah, just beautiful, man. Before, after. Let's see some more shots. I have the same node structure. Oh, this was shot, this is interesting, this was shot on the series 35mm, and that has a lot of Pincushion distortion, as you can see here. And if we add the Anamorphic FX, it does a pretty good job at making it a barrel distortion. Wow, that looks nice. And you can play around with the settings. You could make the barrel distortion none, for example, and the edge compression you can bring back straight, so it doesn't curve anymore, if you like that. But I like a little bit of barrel distortion, so let's see. How much barrel distortion? Well, if I set this too low, does a pretty nice job. But now I have to compensate for the edges to fit. The edge compression is a little bit too high. So let me, okay, something like that. Yeah, looks nice. So the idea here is to get a 239 classic Hollywood standard cinema look without losing that beautiful character on the edges. On a 16:9 aspect ratio camera without open gate. Yeah, this is gorgeous, this is beautiful. So before, after, the edge compression is beautiful, man. It does such a good job at it. Here I want to show you something else. If you take a closer look here, we have another setting. This is the astigmatism of the lens. So you have astigmatism type, so you can go for tangent. This does more of a swirl. As you can see, if we increase it, you can see what it does. It almost looks like you shot this on a pencil. And you have the range, the bias, but I like a little bit of this effect. Not too much, somewhere around 8. I think it's enough and blends beautifully. Chromatic aberration, yeah, the chromatic aberration strength. You can play around with this. You can also keyframe it, make some beautiful effects. I settled somewhere around 23. You can also add a vignette. And that's it, man. This is nice. Absolutely awesome. This gives your image something that's been missing because of the lack of open gate. Let's see, let's make this more swirly on astigmatism. Yeah, something like this. Before, after. Okay, so if you look here, you can make this very swirly and give this a beautiful effect. And it plays nice, so it plays back at real time. This plugin doesn't require lots of hardware. Let's see, maybe sagittal effect. Let me show you what this does. So this is like, it introduces some speed. You can also keyframe this, but I prefer tangent, somewhere around 8. This is gorgeous. How the sides come back into the frame. Before, after. Beautiful, just beautiful. Let me see another shot. As you can see without it, if I wanted the 39 aspect ratio, I kind of lose these parts over here. And also on the right we lose these. This is just great. So edge compression and lens geometry, you can play around with these settings to find your perfect look. Astigmatism, a little bit of that, a little bit of chromatic aberration. You can add the radial or lateral. I prefer lateral. Vignette, I don't know, maybe not in this case or most cases. depending on the project, but that looks awesome, dude. So I believe this amazing tool came out of necessity because the camera manufacturers, from what I can see, won't be introducing OpenGate pretty soon. So now we have this, and it's absolutely awesome. So maybe you don't like the edges here. No problem. Let's straighten out the barrel distortion. Let's give it that as 0. So that's straight now, but we want more of the edges back. No problem. Let's increase this. And yeah, we get back the full image. Nicely squeezed, without affecting the look in a horrible way. But I prefer a little bit of barrel, so I'm gonna go with the settings from before. Yeah, beautiful. Nice. Absolutely awesome. So yeah, check out their site at anamorphictool.com. I promise you won't regret it. It's been the missing link for all of us. So cheers to the maker of this beautiful plugin. From my perspective, it's definitely worth it. I don't know, leave your comments down below if you like it and if it works for you and your taste. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.